Let me put value graphics into a little bit of context for you, because I think it's important to understand that it plays well nicely and must play well nicely with other forms of audience insight. We talk about the three-legged stool of audience insight, in fact. It's important that you have three legs on this stool, or else it's not very sturdy and stable. The first leg is what we call demographics. We're all familiar with this. Demographics are still an amazing way for us to describe a target audience. It's really great to be able to say this group of people that we're trying to get to do these things. They have these outward-facing characteristics. Let's say they're men. They're between the ages of 18 to 24, they earn $50,000 a year, they have a high school education. All good stuff to know if your product is specifically designed for that group. But here's where we've been going wrong with demographics. We've been standing back and saying, because we understand the demographics of a target audience, we understand the target audience. We don't. We understand what they are. We do not understand who they are. And in order to get to the who, we need to go a little deeper. So a lot of us will turn to psychographics. Now, there's a billion different definitions for what psychographics are all about. The one I tend to enjoy and think is most useful is that psychographics are a record of what a group of people have done so far, what their emotions, behaviors, and decisions have been up until now. So you can scrape the social net, you can ask them about their brand emotional index, you can do all those kinds of things. It gives you a great record of how these people have behaved around a certain product or category up until this moment in time. So you have a description of a target audience, of what they are, how they have behaved so far, but if you want to get some people to do the things you'd like them to do, you gotta understand what they care about and what their values are. And that's where value graphics layer in. So if you take all three together, you have demographics to describe, psychographics to record, and value graphics to engage, and now you truly have the picture you need of your target audience in order to do the things you would like to do and move your KPIs in the right direction. I'm going to start by showing you a little bit of information out of the value graphics database. So a little bit of a world tour, if you will. Let's go around the world in a few minutes or less. I'm going to share with you the top few values for 9 different regions of the world. Because remember, there's only 56 things that are driving all the people in any region of the world to do the things they do. Gets much more precise if we get down to a brand or down to a particular product or service. But for the entire region, it's really interesting to see how we are quite similar and yet a little bit different all over the world. Now, here's one thing that's unifying everywhere on Earth. There's 5 what we call togetherness values, ways we want to be with each other. It's why we've been having such a hard time during the pandemic, because we haven't been able to be with each other the way we would like to. Every profile we do for every client in every sector, anywhere in the world, always some of these togetherness values show up. So we tend to cluster them and talk about them on their own. Family, belongingness, just wanting to fit in. Relationships, you can think about those as sort of friendship light, if you will. Friendship, pretty obvious what that one's about. And then community. Now, we can all be parts of various communities, and those who are driven by the value of community will make decisions about everything that they encounter in their day based on how it might impact, negatively or positively, the communities they care about. Let me give you a concrete example from my personal life. I collect art, contemporary photography, in fact, and so I see myself as part of the art community here in the city of Vancouver, in Canada, where I live. Now, I'm also part of the geographic community that's around my condominium, where I live in downtown Vancouver. I've got very lucky, I got a little place up the coast for the weekends, and I'm part of that little town too, that community. And so community is a very important value in my life, and I worry about all of these communities and how they're doing, and I try and make decisions that will benefit these communities, and sometimes those decisions are subconscious. I don't even know I'm doing it, but I'm driven towards anything that will help the communities that I care about the most. Let's start our tour of the world in the EU. We see financial security, experiences, and personal growth as the 3 top most important values after the togetherness values in the EU. Experiences shows up here in the EU and only in the EU, which I think is really quite fascinating. Something about people who live in the EU, they are driven by the value of wanting to experience new and interesting things. In Asia, with the exception of China, people are driven by financial security, loyalty, and personal growth. We leave China out when we're looking at the rest of Asia because China is such a big influence on the world that they get their own slide. We'll take a look at them in just a moment. Financial security is a value for people who are very focused on just staying secure. It doesn't matter what level of economic strata that you're working in here, but the security of staying in that spot is something that folks in Asia are very, very focused on, and it's a tool they use to make decisions about everything all day long. Loyalty. We love seeing loyalty come up when we're looking at consumer profiles for various products and services and brands, because once you have a group of people who have displayed loyalty to you, you will be loyal back to them. Loyalty in a consumer profile is like, that's a trophy when that shows up, because it means that all we need to do as a brand is explain to these folks, show these folks, prove to these folks that we will be loyal, and then we've got them for life. It's a great way to capture a group of people and make sure they stick to us and aren't wandering off to deal with our competition. Personal growth is a value. Personal growth people want to be a better version of themselves every day. They seek out ways to learn more, do more, grow more. I work with a fellow named Josh, and Josh is constantly trying to find ways to be a better human. He's already a pretty good human. On top of that, he's striving every day to be a better version of himself. Personal growth is a massive value for my friend Josh. China. China has personal growth at the very top of their list after the togetherness values, because I do have to tell you, in China, number one by a long shot is family. But remember, we've taken the togetherness values and put them aside. So after the togetherness values, personal growth. People in China want to be a better version of themselves tomorrow than they are today. And then we see harmony and righteousness showing up in the second and third place slots. Those are values we don't see very often in very many parts of the world and in very many profiles. Harmony is a very fascinating value. People who are driven by harmony are always looking for a way to make things right. You think about a chord on a piano. It's 3 or 4 notes that are being played simultaneously. They're all different, but together they make something more beautiful than if they were all the same. Harmony is about finding the beauty in having differences that can coexist and make something even better together. So folks in China are constantly seeking ways to get more harmony in their lives. And righteousness is about thinking good thoughts and moving in the right direction and living in a righteous way. I have many friends from China, and I see these values in the way that they interact with the world on a very real basis. Oceania. We have a lot of friends in New Zealand and in Australia. And if they're watching today, I know they agree with me because we've looked at this. Personal growth, number one on the list, financial security, and then personal responsibility. People in Oceania want to be the ones who get stuff done. They want to be responsible for themselves. They want to be responsible for moving the needle. They don't sit on the couch and say, you know what someone should do? They get up off the couch and go and do that thing. And any product, service, or brand who comes at them and says, we're going to make you more personally responsible. We're going to give you the tools and experiences you need to take on more things and to feel like the one who's getting stuff done. Those will be a big hit for our friends in Oceania. In the Middle East, we see morality at the top of the list. Again, right after family. Family's number one here, just like it is in China and other parts of the world. But then morality pops to the top of the list. The only place in the world where morality shows up at all in the top 3. It's one of the few places in the world where it shows up in the top 10, in fact. And when I was speaking in the Middle East a while ago, I was talking to audiences of people in Dubai and in Abu Dhabi. People would come up to me after I got off stage and say, you know, you pinned it perfectly. Morality is something that we learn as simple as breathing from a very young age. It's important to get to the right place, but to get there in the right way. Has nothing to do with religion. Some people in the Middle East are very religious and some aren't, but they're all very moral in the way they approach their lives. Loyalty showing up again in financial security. It's an interesting profile for a part of the world. And in Africa, religion and spirituality is at the top of the list. Now remember, religion and spirituality doesn't necessarily mean formal, traditional religions. It does, for some people, mean going to mosque, going to temple, going to church. But it could also just mean going for a walk in the woods. It could also just be an hour that you get to spend on the beach by yourself meditating. It might be your yoga practice. Everybody has a different idea of what religion and spirituality means, if that's an important value to them. And in Africa, the whole rainbow of meanings exists. Patience. We often hear things about Africa. You need to learn to wait. I've talked to friends, fellow researchers in Africa who confirm that this is very much a part of how everyone in the country, everybody in the entire continent, thinks about their lives. And financial security making a showing here as well. Central and South America, religion and spirituality at the top of the list, employment security, financial security, lots of security stuff going on in Central and South America, a lot of desire to just make sure that things are safe and secure, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, everything's buttoned down, nothing's gonna go awry. And then religion and spirituality peaking up there in the number 1 slot again. North America, except the United States. Remember, just like China, the United States is such a dominant influence. They get their own slide. It's coming up next. But for the rest of North America, basic needs is at the top of the list. This is an interesting value. People look at this value. It's about just making sure you got enough money to get your food, clothing, and shelter taken care of on a monthly basis. But remember, everybody's idea of what's basic is different. It might be that your basic needs that you're worried about on a monthly basis include the mortgage on your second or third home, or whether or not you're going to be able to buy your kid a Lamborghini when they graduate. Those could be your basic needs, but whatever your version of that is, from a sociological perspective, I'm unconcerned with what your markers are. I am very concerned with the idea that you make all your decisions based on whether or not it's going to improve or detract from your ability to meet your basic needs. Religion and spirituality showing up in North America, and again, our old friend, employment security. What about my job? Is my job safe and sound? In the US, personal growth, number 1 on the list. My American friends all want to be a better version of themselves tomorrow than they are today, in all the different ways that that could unfold. Health and well-being. Healthy and well living, health and well-being as a value in the United States of America, number 2, after we take the togetherness values out. Now, health and well-being, much like religion and spirituality, has a myriad of things that it could mean. From a sociological perspective, I'm not bothered by whether it means one thing or another. It could be that you want to run 3 marathons a year. And in fact, if you only get 2 done, you don't think you're being very healthy and very well. But it might also mean that you just did not spend last night lying on the couch watching Netflix and eating a bag of nacho chips. That could be your version of being healthy and well. From a sociological perspective and trying to understand how people are using this to make decisions, it doesn't really matter. What matters is products, services, and brands that can talk to Americans about how their thing is going to give them more of what they want. A sense of being healthy and well will be very successful. It's a hugely important magnet in terms of trying to draw people towards whatever it is you're offering. And then basic needs show up in the United States as well. That's the quick world tour.